Good evening, Azusa community, students, parents, and staff. Welcome to our board meeting, our Board of Education meeting. We are now on item 1.1. I would like to call this meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. Moving on to item 1.2, roll call. Board Member Vo,
Here.
Board Member Audience will be here shortly. Board Member Greer.
Here.
And Board Member Benavides will also be joining us shortly, and I am here. We're moving on to item 1.3, approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion?
I move to approve the agenda.
Motion by Board Member Bo. Do I have second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Good. Any discussion? Seeing none, place your vote, please. Motion passes 3-0. Moving on to item 2.1, public comment on closed session agenda items. Hope, do we have any cards? Lika, do we have anyone hand raised on Zoom?
We have no hands raised on Zoom.
Thank you. We will now move on to closed session, and we will begin our session at 6 p.m. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Hello, Miss Meg. Siéntate, por favor. Gracias. Thank you. Good evening, Azusa community, students, parents, staff, and welcome to the Board of Education. Moving on to item 4.1, the Pledge of Allegiance. If you can please stand. Place your hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We are now moving on to item 5.1, public comment on agenda and non-agenda items. The Board of Education encouraged public input. Board members are not permitted to respond to public comments. A member of the staff will contact you if the information needed. Thank you for your participation. Individual participants in public comment must adhere to the following guidelines. Speaker cards must be turned in to the board secretary or raised their hand while in Zoom by 7 p.m. or 10 minutes after the meeting begins. No speakers may yield their time to another individual speaker. Speakers must be present when their name is called in order to be heard. Maximum speaking time is 3 minutes. Hope, do we have any blue cards? Meg Zavala, can you please, please?
May I begin?
Yes, again.
Good evening, school board members, cabinet, my fellow colleagues. We're here tonight because the teachers and staff at Gladstone Middle School are struggling with safety, with discipline, with things that are not going well and are putting the safety of the students, of the community, of the staff at risk. I am very thankful about what cabinet has done, what the board has authorized them to do to increase the safety measures, but we can do more. And the Gladstone Middle School teachers want you to hear what is going on so that you're aware. And so they're here tonight, and I'm here tonight to help inform you so that you can best make decisions that will best help those students, the community, the staff at Gladstone Middle School. And first and foremost, and the reason I got up first is because I wanted to say something that you will probably never hear me say again. And that is, We need more administrators at the middle school and at the high school. And as a union leader, that's so terribly uncommon that, and Jorge will laugh, and you may go right ahead. I give you permission to laugh at me. To have a union leader say, hire more administrators, but not more teachers. And I'm saying this because I hear this consistently from my people at the middle school and at the high school. And it's because they're short-staffed when it comes to administration. And because of that, the administrators who are really, really working overtime, overdrive to do the best that they can for those students, they can't do some of the other things to support teachers and kids like they would normally have done in a different setting where there weren't so many kids. And I think that this is just a byproduct, I'm sorry, an unforeseeable consequence of putting all of our middle schools together. And nobody's perfect. And so what do? We adjust, we pivot, we make new decisions to try and best service our students and our community. And so you are hearing the union leader say, on behalf of my teachers, please hire more administrators at the middle school and the high school. I've already spoken to Jorge. I've already spoken to Arturo. They've probably already told you this, but I need to say it out loud. They have responded and told me that they are listening. This is being discussed. But I guess I want you to hear me say, please, from the union leader, who never says this, hire more administrators to help our people. Okay, so I'm going to now give time over to my illustrious colleagues who are here to inform you and educate you through their lens about what's going on with
Yeah,
a
but-
solution-driven. I'm sorry.
Ms. Zavala, your time is up, please. I'm
Thank
sorry.
you very much.
You're welcome. Now I'd like to call up Griselda Berry.
Good evening, School Board President Rodriguez Peña, school board members, and cabinet. My name is Griselda Berry. I'm a teacher at Gladstone Middle School, and I'm here this evening to request that the board support hiring additional administrators at Gladstone Middle School, at least one at minimum. There's ample evidence that shows we are in need of another administrator. Last year, our district contracted 4 principals and 2 vice principals to service the middle schools. It was unreasonable to cut these administrative positions by half when the student population did not decrease. Doing so created a situation where our current administrators are overworked. Without extra support, our administrators are forced to prioritize where their attention is needed most. Campus safety has consumed the majority of their attention. As a result, other needs have received less attention. Major behaviors have minimized minor incidents because consequences can't be enforced. To put it bluntly, the capacity is just not there. We have students on Friday night light detention lists that have not served minor infractions like tardies, but those tardies, though they may seem minor, do impact the culture of the school and the safety of the school. And as a result, all of these areas that aren't being addressed are having a very negative impact on our school. Additionally, administrators no longer have time to visit classrooms informally, to see student engagement, to provide feedback on teacher performance. And I feel bad for them because that is where the joy of being an administrator lies, and to see where our kids are thriving. And they're not able to do that right now. Our district has already acknowledged that our school needs an additional administrator. In fact, a temporary lifeline was thrown at them when you contracted Dana Mitchell, and this support finally allowed them some time to discuss the needs of our school, to develop action plans, and to work on a long list of administrative duties. The problem is this support is minimal and needs to become a permanent position. On a recent business trip, a colleague mentioned that our principal slept profoundly the entire duration of the flight. His needed rest was a result of how tirelessly he and our other 2 administrators have been working to make Gladstone the vision we all have. Your support in approving an extra administrator will show us if you share the same vision. A safe campus where all students learn and thrive, supported by an administrative team that can address the needs of all
Thank
students
you, Ms.
and
Berry.
staff.
Your time is up. Thank you.
you.
We're moving on to Meg Everson.
Good evening, School Board President Pena Rodriguez Pena, school board members and cabinet. My name is Margie Avison. I'm a teacher at the newly formed Gladstone Middle School. Tonight, I am speaking about why Gladstone needs a well-defined and enforceable dress code. As you know, when the school year started, there was not an enforceable dress code, which caused multiple issues with expectations for students and staff. By winter break, the enforcement of the new code was well underway. With the cold weather, short and deep cut tops were concealed under sweatshirts and jackets, as well as covering baggy pants. Now that spring is here, teachers are concerned about the dress code issue starting to pop up. Students are wearing pants that are sagging and showing undergarments, or are so large in the waist they must make pleats and use a belt to keep them up. Yesterday, a student explained to another student near my classroom that he has a size 40-inch waist pant, and that was the largest he could find. The pants ballooned out inches off his small frame. If the belt was removed, there would be no way possible that they would stay up around his waist. This situation is not confined to the boys, as the girls are doing the same. Another pant issue is not just the ripped pant legs, but an entire front of the pants are missing from the area where the legs and torso meet to the bottom of the seam of the pant leg. Our dress code policy does not mention the wearing of size-appropriate clothing nor clothing in good repair. This was the standard language that solved most baggy pant and ripped pant issues at Slauson since 1994 when I started there. Teachers are reporting that students with bare midriffs will have one of the following interactions. Explain they just have to pull the top down to meet their pant waistband, which often creates a problem at the top of the shirt. Return to class with no change of clothing, or return to class with a change of shirt like a badge of honor, and they do not return the loaner top to the guidance office. There is a box with at least 20 tops of students that need to exchange their loaner shirt for their clothing, but they do not. Consequences being, besides changing shirts, are a parent phone call if a repeat offender, but this is not effective as this is not the job of office secretaries. The administrator and counselors do not have the time to deal with these issues consistently. Furthermore, if a teacher speaks to a student about making sure to wear shirts that cover their midriffs or size-appropriate pants, the student is often rude to the point of cussing to the teacher. This creates a need for additional consequences, but that happens when admin is able to get to it as they are extremely overworked. The week before spring break, the 7th and 8th graders created their own special dress days to demonstrate gang loyalty. One day was dressed like a prisoner day, khakis and a white t-shirt and white shoes in honor of a gang member that was killed, but had also served time. Another day was to dress in blue to support one of the local gangs. Students were warned by those planning and taking part to not wear red or they would be a target. Teachers reported the situation to admin and parents were called. A small portion of our students are using dress to threaten our smart, kind, and amazing students at Gladstone Middle School. School is an academic environment where there
Thank you,
should
Ms.
be dressed
Davidson.
appropriately for learning.
Thank you.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Everson. Thank you. Mr. Steve Scott, please come to the podium.
Good evening, and thank you for listening to something I really do not want to say. I do not want to be here right now. Just want to preface that. In 34 years, I'm going to say things that I've never said before. Right now at Gladstone Middle School, there's agreement among the staff that there's a sense of impunity with our students. Grisel or Miss Berry mentioned arriving to class on time. One teacher noted 75 students roam freely around campus about 2 minutes after the bell. 25 to 30, 6 to 7 minutes after the bell. 5 to 10 students are roaming the halls about 10 minutes after the bell. Roaming around campus. When students are roaming around and approached by adults, they will either not respond or respond with profanity. On one occasion, a teacher was leaving. I'm so upset about this. A teacher was leaving the library to get a cord or a book or something. She saw some girls outside the class, told them, hey, you got to get to class. They responded, and I won't say the language, but you guys can figure it out. FUB, they confronted the teacher. They started to take pictures of the teacher, and those pictures, I guarantee, circulated where the teacher's in front and the students are giving the middle finger to the teacher while they are behind her. The subsequent days, that teacher told me students who did that to her would walk up to her doing this kind of stuff. Teachers also report that students post pictures and videos of the teacher online. That is unacceptable. Violence. We all know about the mob activity that happened not too long ago. Another teacher writes, unfortunately, incidents of violence are frequent on campus. We witnessed 30 to 50, let's see, what time do I have? 30 to 50 person mob fight, along with weekly occurrences of 1 to 5 student fights. Students, while these fights are going on, will record them on their phones, and they won't disperse when they're told to do so. You have a lower level risk of safety. Gum, no, I'm not going to give you my gum. Give me your phone. I'm not going to give you my phone. Go to class. I'm not going to go to class. Then you have a safety situation where there's a fight and students do not want to disperse. We need to have more consistent discipline policy. Our administrators are absolutely overwhelmed. I hope that this is not taken as a complaint session, a finger point session, but that it's taken in the spirit that it's offered. It is offered as a plea for help. We need some more resources. I shudder to think where we would be without the efforts of Sam Perdomo, Althea Zimmer, and Gus Lopez. Without their efforts, it would probably be like a Lord of the Flies. We need more administrators. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Justin? Justin Comstock, please.
President Rodriguez Peña, members of the cabinet, members of the school board, colleagues and guests. My name is Justin Comstock and I'm a 6th grade math teacher and 8th grade STEM teacher at Gladstone Middle School. As acts of violence have increased on our campus this past year, especially the incident back on February 15th, many teachers at our school do not feel trained to handle or that there are clearly defined, clearly communicated safety procedures in place. A lot of the teachers feel if another fight or major incident similar to February 15th were to occur again, do not feel any more prepared than we were that day. Our teachers feel that clearly defined procedures for lockdowns and disasters, along with regular drills to practice and perfect them, are still sorely needed, especially lockdown drills where students are outside, such as during a passing period. Teachers want to feel safe and prepared, and that our school is a safe place for parents to send us our students. Our staff currently does not really feel that way at all. As to assisting with breaking up fights, I personally was trained in nonviolent crisis intervention through AUSD and the Crisis Prevention Institute. However, this last occurred back in September of 2007. And at that training, it was a voluntary training that I attended. It was not a district-wide required training. Many of our teachers, however, have not received training and do not feel comfortable or safe assisting to break up a fight, especially if it's something that would happen inside their room where they would be alone with the students, or if it was outside in a place where security or administrators were not present. I know our administrators are the right people for our school. I've known Sam, Mr. Principal Perdomo, for a number of years, and I've had the pleasure of getting to know Gustavo Lopez and Althea Zimmer this year and working with them. And we see how tirelessly they work every day to keep our school as safe as humanly possible. However, we are way understaffed at the administrative level on our campus. And as a consequence, we are not prepared, we do not feel prepared or trained with these well-communicated, clearly defined safety procedures that are necessary to keep our campus as safe as possible, as our staff and students so desperately deserve. So we are here today, united, asking for your support in these measures. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Comstock. Can we have Mary?
Good evening, President Rodriguez Peña, members of the board, cabinet. I'd like to speak to the why and how we need to restore student accountability. In the 36 years that I've been here at this district teaching, my concerns have never been so great as to even think that I needed to address the board. I've never spoken before, nor have I really thought about retirement until now. This year has been the most unsafe and stressful year, not just for teachers and staff, but for students. The majority of our incredible students are feeling intimidated, unsafe, and are overshadowed by those who are rude, disrespectful, and defiant. Our job entails more than just daily instruction. We prepare our children to enter the world as contributing members of society. The fact that our district is focusing on restorative justice when dealing with difficult students is a step in the right direction. But the fact is it's not being implemented properly. I just want to share a few of the behaviors, everyday behaviors that have come to the norm as at Gladstone. The use of foul language towards students and teachers, comments as mentioned such as, no, I'm not giving that to you, it's mine, or F off, B. Kids throwing confetti eggs or real eggs at other students, good kids, the multiple brawls that are happening at the same time while others are recording. Detention is an ineffective way because many of the kids take the bus. Those who get picked up or walk, they don't show up for the consequence anyway. So then what? We can't send them to the office because admin is dealing with issues that are much bigger than profanity and defiance. So as a result, the students know that nothing will happen if they threaten someone, make racist comments, fight, disrupt learning, and wander the campus during class time. So where's the justice for the students who are putting their best effort into learning, and for the dedicated teachers who are trying but are unsuccessful in providing a safe, productive, and positive environment for learning? The students who are not able to function in the regular school environment need to have an alternative location. There are just too many resources that are needed to accommodate them. As a district, our goal is to produce beautiful, successful adults prepared to enter careers where they have a competitive edge against other young adults eager to begin their lives. We need to reinstate and enforce student expectations and consequences. Our administration is too overburdened to consistently enforce necessary consequences. Sometimes parents aren't even completely aware of major incidents like drug abuse, weapons on campus, threats, and fights because administrators simply don't have time to call them. If they do give consequences, often they're random or sporadic. Sometimes students are assigned detention or ATS sessions where they sit with their friends on phones and at times are without adult supervision. Our administrators just need more support and
Thank
able
you.
to hold students accountable.
Thank
Thank
you for
you.
your time. Next we have Tim.
Good evening, Board President Rodriguez Peña, school board members, and cabinet. My name is Tim Bazuris. I'm a teacher at Gladstone Middle School, and I've been teaching in the district for 30 years. And I'm here to request that the board consider hiring either better security or to train new personnel. There's ample evidence that we need more trained security personnel. Now, we have only 4 district-hired campus safety who, those 4, work very hard to keep our kids safe on campus and do the job of making sure they get to class on time. They are going above and beyond trying to make sure that our kids are safe and they're taking care of everything. But the problem is that while we have Blackwater folks that are failing to provide adequate support and intervention during emergencies, they need, and this is in terms of Blackwater, they need to act more professional. Some examples of why. Some are on their cell phones constantly. One security officer was heard telling a student, "I can cuss because I'm an adult." They are consistently seen talking to each other on the grass areas and the quads during passing periods. And this is a 5-minute period of time that they all need to be encouraging students to walk to class, not just standing around talking to each other. Second, the professional boundaries need to be established. In effect, there are no boundaries. Students don't respect them. They like them. because they are like friends. There's times where they handed out pastries or candy when the students were leaving the bathroom in the B quad. And of course, guess what all the students want to do? They all want to go to the bathroom because they want to get something. A female student was standing amid 4 security personnel having a sweet conversation during class, addressing each other as honey. Current security personnel are friendly to the point that students leave or avoid class because they want to go talk with security. Third, security is not doing what they were hired to do. They don't break up fights. Counselor was holding back a student during a fight one time, and a Blackwater security personnel just stood there watching. Students have broken up a fight before Blackwater intervened, letting multiple kids into the restroom at a time, which led to a fight when they're only supposed to be leading one at a time. Even though they are trained to restrain students, which we've been informed they're not doing it. They won't. One teacher stated, "I broke up 3 fights in 3 days while Blackwater stood there and watched. I've had to put my hands on students to prevent them from assaulting other students while Blackwater did nothing." We saw students handling their cell phones with Blackwater before entering the restroom, but cell phones are banned during class time. Teacher told us this to Blackwater person, and he said, "I didn't know that." Other issues, some areas on campus are not overcovered well. The school and district rules need to be communicated to Blackwater personnel so they can enforce them and support us. They need to be trained in district procedures and policies. We do not have a way to communicate with security, and the Blackwater personnel are too young. They are not adults. They're not parents. They're trying to be friends with the students instead of being authority figures. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Scott Aiden. Mr. Scott Aiden, please. Thank you.
Good evening, Yolanda. Hi, nice to see you.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd be standing at this podium, honestly. You are hearing from over 200 years of experience, by the way.
Yeah.
Maybe much more than that. I'm just estimating. I'm here to address how the facilities are creating a safety concern as well as barrier to positive learning environment. As of today, I'm estimating at least 50% of the phones are not working in classrooms. That created a huge concern during the lockdown. I wasn't there that day, but I've heard reports, and somebody reported that they were in an overcrowded room in combination with something else that I'll mention. They needed to open the windows, and something from outside the school was thrown in the classroom, nearly missing several people in the room. That's a safety concern. I don't know how many of your phones are working. I won't put you on the spot, but mine started ringing yesterday. However, the directions I was given for the phone, because we weren't trained, apparently are not accurate, and we can't change the message. I don't know if anybody's tried. So it's not even me leaving a message, outgoing message on my phone. I don't know how. Those that are functional, they've just been recently fixed this past week or so. Are you also aware that even though we used a helicopter and put all new units on the classrooms, that the heating and air conditioning units are pretty much non-functional as of today? Mine is personally working finally after going back and forth 4 times with the temperature because the air wouldn't come on. The thermometers, the thermostats are miscalibrated, and they need to be individually taken care of in every room. I won't put them on the spot, but I'm guessing a number of hands will go up if they say, if I asked how many air conditionings are working. Not many. It's going to be 86 on Thursday. My first month in the room that I was in, it was consistently 95 and above. Where else? Where am I at? Oh, it's been reported that with the newly provided seating arrangements, that there simply isn't enough room in some of the classrooms. You've been in there. You know the number of students that were assigned. You know the size of things. There's a teacher too that report that they can't walk around and circulate without tripping numerous times a day. They're concerned for their own safety. They're concerned for student safety. They're concerned that behaviors occur because they can't get to them. They physically cannot get there in their classroom. My last thing, getting a little personal, I'm sorry, but I don't know if you're aware that numerous ceiling tiles have fallen down, along with steel like this grate, but bigger, onto the ground in the middle of the classrooms. My personal experience, the ceiling tiles were fixed the day before school started, leaving me with a mess, by the way, that I cleaned up the first time. During that first rain during Hillary at the end of August, over the weekend, thankfully, ceiling tiles, about 6 of them, fell in due to the leaking roof. I subsequently found out that those work orders go back over 3 years, and they were
Thank you,
unaddressed.
Mr. Aiden. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Lika, do we have anyone on Zoom?
We have no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, thank you. We are moving on now to item 6.1, engagement of 2024 to 2027 local control accountability plan. I turn it over to Andrea Garcia Medina.
Good evening, Board President Rodriguez Peña, board members, Superintendent Ortega, cabinet members, and audience. I'm excited to be here this evening to share our draft of our LCAP plan and to allow the board an opportunity to give us input on this draft plan. As you know, this is our year 3 of our current LCAP plan. And at the same time that we've reviewed progress on this plan, we are in the process of developing this new draft. And we would implement this new plan for the 2024 through the 2027 school year. You may recall that on the February 6th board meeting, we participated in an LCAP mid-year update. We took an interactive approach when we did that. It was a cafe-like approach, which we're trying to do with you today here at this study session again. We want each board member to have an opportunity to take a deeper dive into our LCAP draft, and we are using this draft to anchor our plan. You will have an opportunity to give input on the proposed goals, on the metrics, the actions, and the services that we've aligned to these goals. And although this plan is not fully developed, we have had the opportunity to gather input from various educational partners, which include our Parent Advisory Committee, also known as PAC+, and it's comprised of parents from each of our school sites. We also have certificated staff representing AEA. We have classified staff that is representing CSEA, as well as district administrators on this committee. We've also gathered input from our student advisory group, which represents both of our high schools. And we've also taken this draft plan to our District English Language Advisory Council, which is also referred to as DLAC, and they have given input into this process as well. These educational partners have all participated in protocols where we've reviewed goals, we've looked at metrics, we've looked at actions, and they've had an opportunity to edit, to revise, and to make suggestions on the draft plan. We also took an opportunity to review a Youth Truth Survey data, both from previous years and current years, to determine areas of needs and to continue our conversations around our draft plan. We collectively worked together to create goals that were clear for educational partners. That's something that really resonated with PAC+. They wanted goals that were clear to all community members. They wanted students to be able to read and understand the goals. They wanted parents to be able to read and understand the goals. And so you'll notice when you get to the goals, we've pared down some of the verbiage to make sure that these goals are clear. We've also looked at our district vision and mission and made sure that these goals are aligned. And most importantly, we really wanted to ensure that these goals are tied to student achievement. What we're going to do today is we're going to have an opportunity to facilitate a gallery walk with the help of the Ed Services team that's here today, as we will walk you through the draft plan. And again, as we did at our last session, we'll take an opportunity to highlight the academic success drivers that we practice here in Azusa Unified School District, which include cognitive rigor, academic discourse, and collaborative practices. We want to shift the thinking to you as participants as you analyze and synthesize the information that we're working together on, and as you give input on the plan. Academic discourse, you're going to have some great thought partners in the Ed Services team to discuss some of your observations, and you have the opportunity to collaborate with them through this gallery walk. I'm going to go ahead and share with you how the goals are placed up here around the room. You'll notice that there's a poster version of the draft plan. They are organized into 5 goals. Each of the posters has the goal written on there and also a description of why we developed a goal that's tied to data. We also include which state priority this goal is aligned to. We also have a section that covers the metrics, how we're measuring and reporting data that's tied to the goal. And we also have various posters that show you the actions and services. And you'll see that in these actions and services, there may be some red text. That red text signifies how we are addressing specific subgroups that have scored a red performance level on the California dashboard. This is a new requirement for the LCAP process, so we really wanted to highlight that in our posters to make that visible to you. You'll also notice maybe some blue text within the document, and that blue text are changes or additions that we have made to the LCAP plan. You'll also notice the bulk of it is the black text, and simply because it's very similar to what we previously had in our previous 3-year plan. As we begin at each of the tables, I'll assign you to your table that you'll start at. And we're going to take some time with our Ed Services team to further elaborate on all of these aspects that I quickly reviewed. You will have an opportunity to spend approximately 10 minutes at each table. We'll try to gauge time if we need to extend that a little bit. And you're going to have a graphic organizer or a note catcher, as I like to call them. There's one for each of the goals, and they're color coordinated. So this purple one goes with our goal 1 in the back. And this note catcher gives you 3 things to think about. It gives you an I notice column. So what do you notice as we discuss the plan? I wonder, so what questions might you have? And it could be questions on metrics, on actions, or on services. And also, I suggest. So you might want to write on here suggestions for the Ed Services team as we continue to draft. So we have these at the table for you. We also have a printed copy of the poster, as it was quite challenging to get it to this size and make it legible. So we also wanted you to have a hard copy of that. So those are on the table for you. And the other item that we have as a reference point for you is the LCAP overview, which is our previous 3-year plan, as you might want to take a look at what the goals look like previously to compare to our new proposed plans. Okay. So we're going to have 5 rounds, about 10 minutes each at each of the tables. I'm going to ask our Ed Services directors to go to their designated goal. So they'll wait for you there. All right. And as you get to your table, again, there's a clipboard with your note catcher. So you'll take your note catcher with you to each of the tables, and then you'll have the reference documents there. Okay. So we'll just start.
Does Adrian get to go again still?
Well, there's 5 of us today, so
You
you
did such a
each
great job.
you each start with 1, and the good news is that you'll get to go to every single one this time. So everyone will be equal. All right, so we're just going to start clockwise here, and we'll do Adrian at goal 1, Ms. Benavides at goal 2, Rodriguez Peña goal 3, goal 4, and Dr. Bo at goal 5. Okay, so if you could go ahead and go to your goal Ms. Arayanes, go for. And they might be a little bit out of order because we had to use the wall space as our gauge. You know what I pointed, I was trying to. All right, so I'm going to set my timer so we can get started and we'll announce when we're ready to move to our next goal. Okay, everyone, that is our first round. So if we can go ahead and make sure, finish up your last sentence. I want to make sure that you take your note catcher with you to the next goal. That way you keep your notes. You're going to turn to the next goal that you have to make sure you have it on a different page. And we are going to rotate to our right. Will that work? All right, we're going to rotate. All right. Yes. Perfect. Okay, it looks like we're making our way to our next goal, so I'll set our timer. All right, go ahead and begin.
So, we had a good conversation with Gabby about that because she's like, oh, no, because that's a little confusing, right? So, data was pretty bad prior to the pandemic, 8.4% chronic absenteeism, which we thought was like horrifying, right? We really wanted to get a handle on it and we ballooned up to like 30, in the pandemic, it went to 31%. I mean, some schools went to 50%. I'm in the process currently. So we've really taken measures. We're also looking at engagement measures. So with our youth truth survey, to what degree do parents feel engaged in decision making, positive relationships, and participation in the surveys. The one thing that we see across the board is elementary. I couldn't look at elementary. So that's a challenge. So that's a big, you started with a doozy. That's like, you're probably still like, woo! There's a lot of data, and here, it was pretty manageable that we know when there's caring school communities and welcoming school communities that, if we focus on that through our family parent plan, out of the first year, and I like how we really not lead with all the input from the kind of made the best so they're not so difficult. Long this is about empowering our families, relationships, collaboration, and partnerships. That's what this goal is about. So even though community schools isn't like technically written into this goal because it's a separate grant, a lot of our work overlaps into some of the actions that we're doing. So first of all, we do provide bilingual communities on the next sites. We want to continue to do that. You can see we've identified some of the schools that continue to have chronic absenteeism. We are doing a lot of work to reduce it, but I think they do a lot of work. We have done a lot of collaboration this year because we have a community schools community liaison and then the Title I community liaison. So the ones that I work with, they focus on absenteeism from visits, engaging parent feedback, connection, transition needed. Jenny's focus more on the initiatives of community schools, but they do a lot of collaboration. We have Adriana in the group, and she does do a lot with the caring group that she runs. We're really trying to get in this use of parent going, and part of the work that I've done from that is Erin does a lot of work with it, but I contract and we do a project 25. So long story short, it's a curriculum delivered by CABE that are, we just finished level 3 for community liaisons. And our parents were trained on. So the idea is like grounds up, boots on the ground, parents connecting with parents, employees connecting with employees, and growing it. Yolanda's actually the former president, is currently doing the English version of the training right now. And my former community liaison, her community liaison at Valleydale has actually taken training. She continues to work with us. She recruited 25 parents at Valleydale. She starts working Monday. So now she's giving the training. We're not doing CABE to do it. She's doing it. So that's been.
And this, I learned myself as we were working. This right here kind of chose a generic umbrella term that we put there that can cover all the things. So like our community schools.
Yeah.
Love it, People have some anxiety and all the things that everybody's dealing with. So kind of any kind of parenting we do.
I know a lot of Sal's office is funded through that, and they do a lot of work. We have money set aside by we to Title I, and we didn't start to really speak to the priority that we talked about.
Looking at this one.
Yeah. There are some new things.
So when we talk about parent learning parent
This is a new, like, I think it was written something kind of similar, but we had a really renewed, we had like a renewed effort to really like collaborate around it and really think of the thing right? If you, I mean, you know this in your work too, if you want something. It was something similar. Previous goal 2,
and then we changed around here. So we've all been experiencing like, wait, because that's when she went over there. I'm like, no, we're another floor.
Well, and the reason was we wanted to elevate instruction, and it used to be.
Well, see, number 2 was ensuring kids and ensure how they parents. And that's what I checked out how it's working. So I'm starting to
here. This was 2 here.
So basically, yes, this way. The similar one.
Right. Now, can we look at 2 on this?
There's some things.
You've changed it. We've got suspension is not a measure, suspension is this. So with any deadline, like we finished, but we have to be engaged.
So there was a parent. So it's not new. And as Adriana said, most of the things in the flash have been in before in some might have been an action under a different rule, but also has changed slightly or we looked at it and said, this actually makes more sense.
Tell me like other change thoughts, just knowing your own experiences.
Yeah, well, I think I'm still trying to get still looking at a picture. So, well,
yeah.
Did we? Is there a way for us to kind of even if we were? What was the goal last time? Was it increased by 5%? And did we do that?
I think we hit them in the elementary, but not in secondary.
Secondary
has to be.
So look here, see, they were in.
There was increase in reason why I asked for, I think I got suggestions. What are we then going to do differently? So if we can, if middle school was 50%.
We've talked a lot.
Our goal,
and we've talked a lot.
It has to look different.
I think community schools, that's why she's doing it. So that's the difference in change. I think that
We're still gonna have a meeting before, you know, really liaison, what are we doing?
Yeah, again, that's where I guess the 3 years is done for us.
Did we really need it?
But how close? I mean, if we shot for 5, we get 4, then maybe the things that we're doing are worthwhile. But if we shot for 5, we actually go down. And then maybe that mission.
Keep that in elementary, but not in secondary, what can we do differently in secondary?
Yes, exactly.
We've talked a lot about teachers and systems, so for example, chronic absenteeism, not a Friday night, because Tuesdays, but the weekly rate of absenteeism.
Because we get into it, whatever, it's like, no, we can't take that off the balance, it has to be.
Elementary, so that's increased 34%. High school is 26.
So you know what's interesting though about middle school, because their experience, great, I thought when I go to middle school, being the father of a middle schooler, the chronic absenteeism rate right now, this is it, as of July, Broadstone's 12%, everybody else, 11%. So that's another really interesting. Kids are always slower. Right? Yeah, the best attendance. It's about lunch. It's about lunch, and lunch is fun. Glad to come to school. They're not free food. I don't know if you've heard that. We've been at the site. So, yeah, how do we engage parents now? You know, I always would market to my middle school teachers to be more involved in this rather than less involved.
Come on, let's do this, like, somehow there's a. I'm not supposed to go, or if it's the kids, or if it's the parent perception, and how can we. You want to go. No, forward. Forward.
Yeah. I feel the same. For next year. See if we're using action items or we're wording. You know, she said it was similar to that. This is for next year's 24, 25, but I thought you clarified that. But this is like current data that we're including for next year. He wanted to know how it's. And it's But no, we have to, Adrian clarified that the plan is not like that, we don't have it at the end of the year. I don't think we. No, but it's important, like, I appreciate the clarification. So, because, I mean, we do want to see how far we've come at the end of the year, and then as we're looking for next year. As start phase, this is our target for the whole 3 years. Our target is 3-year outcome. Yes, that's somewhere we start. Yes, exactly.
So previously, was our base not identified?
It should have been identified. I don't know if it's like the
May not be in
original,
here.
but it would have been. That's just the overview.
Okay, everyone, that's our mark to go ahead and move to our next goal. So far, we've done 2, but no worries, there's more to come. So finish up your last thought, your last notes. And we'll go ahead and rotate. All right, I'm starting our timer.
Let me tell you today, I had a stressful day. I told my husband, I'm having a moment. So I'm like, today, I'm like, now I'm really having a moment.
Well, this, you'll get a brain break when. Okay. This one is our families, empowering our families, our parent engagement and involvement.
Oh, I was just asking my.
Yeah, and.
This is it.
We're gonna be. Keep forgetting the number of our goals. All right, so kind of an overview, this is just kind of a summary of those 5, why we want to engage families. We know that our families are connected, and our students are coming to school, students achieve, right? And so the indicators that we have here for the engagement of families is chronic absenteeism, which is when students want to decrease that. Gabby gave us a good idea. We put we want to decrease chronic absenteeism, which is everything else. But this and suspension. And suspension. We want to go down.
So as far as parent engagement, you're saying that
Kids are coming to school. That's a big, very correlated in our, especially in our community. And so chronic absenteeism is being absent for 10% of the time.
what is it?
10, so being absent 10% of the time. So it changes. Yeah.
Like the day before, so if you've had 20 days of school, if you miss 2, you're from 40 to 20.
If you then start coming to school, then you are not considered anymore. And attendance rate is just the percentage of students that are in school that day. So how many kids showed up at school and how many kids were not. So currently we've had some real struggles during the pandemic. We were up to almost 40% on graders. We're currently at 21%.
So during the pandemic, you think?
Yeah, it was really hard. You know, it was a traumatic time. We all had to learn.
Well, this is where now is where this was in 2022.
Just during kind of like semi-close, like right after, when coming back, I think people really got to see regularity.
The habit
all the habits and mindsets have changed because of what it was before. 2019, 8 board presidents were the not across the state. I always say across the world. Yeah. Right? We all kind of, so we're doing well. And where are we right now? 21%. That's the amount of kids coming to school each day, but we want to get to 96%. That's considered 96% of schools. And then we also want to look at engagement data. And so do our families feel engaged to make decisions? So here's the current results. And do they feel that they're cared for? So where's the right here? So 50% feel engaged? This is in decision. So do they feel engaged by being empowered to make decisions? At the elementary level, 71%. So the big standards, the test is oh, the 46. Like the degree to which they feel like how relationships with the school, with the teachers, staff, again, elementary. So that's how you got it. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So one of my questions was, well, actually my comments was, what I noticed as a school board member and friends, I'm having a bitch. And I'm like, okay, one of the things that bothers me is that why don't we more parents? Where are they? Why? Where's their voice, right? So I don't see that concerns me. Like today, that was my thought when I heard, the comments from the teacher. Okay, where are the parents? We have teachers here who work. So I would love to see more parent engagement. Maybe we need to do more. Yeah. So here's, I would say one of the things with me one of our children, what we did personally, the goal was to have a super majority of 75% or more. Which, regularly did not get that level of participation. We didn't get it again in the middle and high school, but most of our elementaries reached that level in particular. So most of the elementaries, we were right at 75% or about. Very low. It's how do we, are we sharing? What is it? What are we doing or what are we do better at the middle and high school? I think my person, as a middle, I was an elementary principal and then I became a middle school principal before I came to Azusa. And it was, I kept trying to market and tell parents, like, look, my baby's in middle school, they're in the but I tried to really plead with them, please, they need you more. Because middle school is such a big transition from elementary, right? One teacher, knows you and cares you and teaches you all day. And middle school, 6 teachers with 6 different personalities. And so I do think there's a perception among parents is they're older, they've got it. Yeah, they're independent. Yeah, but you see, we need parents.
Elementary 75, middle 65, high school.
Because when I took parents,
So
they're kids who have to be excited. They're but it's not until exactly. That's why how do we keep the marketing the wonderful? What you just said, one of your previous colleagues. Oh, okay. We want you to come. But not necessarily in the third grade, they're in the fourth grade.
There's like, once they get to middle school.
Oh,
Like, I don't know if that's the kids are on the level, or they're they'll come, but I think the more they come.
Yeah.
And the kids feel that that's a
Yeah.
culture, that they're all in this together. You know, another thing that, when I was talking to a parent, I don't even know if I had children. And,
Got it.
kind of a call, and I was talking to her, and I shared with her, because she was talking about her kid, and she was saying something about
Yeah.
the month and everything, and she's like, yeah, you know, during the bus lane,
Or they.
one of the things that I have a question for you, have you been through?
Yeah, right.
Well, I don't even know when the meeting started. She's like, working on the calendar with me. She's like, people are posting on the calendar. I don't, and she showed me, I don't see the list of them. And she goes, so I was trying to understand her. And she was like, if I knew ahead of time, I could post a week prior to the event. And she was saying, that's why, you know, parents need to be engaged. You know, or I can't be as engaged as I want to because I don't know more ahead of time. Yes, because I have to plan your plan, yes, with work and things like that. And another thing she was saying is that, anyway, that it was, I was concerned because she was showing me the calendar and I'm thinking, you know, she's right. Like, this is the working professionals, Latinos, right? And even, you know, all of it, really, you have to plan with your work. Usually nowadays, jobs, you know, right now, I mean, it's all out there, right? They need all the people to want to work. So she was making some good points, right? And I was talking to another and he wrote a really he's like, he does something at the I'm not sure that I don't even I didn't even know when the board meetings are. And you know, but I think we need maybe more outreach, you know, maybe in other communities. Right, that's, and they're new, right? So that.
And hers are new.
Okay, so ours, mine.
Oh, yeah.
Not because it's from our grant. Okay. Because you're the community school. Yeah, but we have now community, in addition to these, we have two. And so Krista and I have partners. And I felt that the child coming, here, mom, and she'll put it on, she'll put it on the screen. I have a third grader and he comes in and I have maybe a long time, okay? But that's one of the things I knew. One of our side families. Well, I show you how to find it, how to see it. And then, because then we're school, everything just pops up, oh, this is everything that's going on. And you can look at the calendar, like you said, ahead of time, and be like, oh, the winter snow, the fact that I need to make sure, you know, I can take it time like that. That's so true, and you know, the other day, I think what popped up, and it said something about
That little app or the CPA, they come in. Oh, yeah. I forget what it's called. There's so many, right? Exactly. That's the other thing too. There's so many. And then you have to be careful with communicating because if you have multiple children and you get a reminder from high school and middle school and 2 elementary schools or and you're just so we have to be good parents. Yeah. Those are good parents. How we really do it. How we communicate. Yeah, there's a school, it's a district, right? Even though it's outcast, I like that. Every school plays. So even that is, you know, very targeted. Yeah.
All right, everyone. We're ready to move to our next goal. Make sure you take your note catcher with you. And as you make your way to your next goal, make sure you take your note catcher with you. Your notes, you're going to need your notes later when we share out. No, we're not finished. Almost. 2 more. We can do it. 10 minutes, then the timer starts.
Can you actually kind of live in this school because you are participating in Project to Inspire, this goal fund? Right. And I was like, okay, you know, I'll tell everyone. I love it. So, this is just a summary of attendance and why we know that this is schools and parents work together as they're stronger and things like absenteeism. So we have chronic absenteeism here, which is a required metric, and you know that that's the 10% that you're absent 10% of the year. So if you're, 20 days and you miss 2, I gave that example earlier, you're chronic. But we don't want schools to miss more than 15 days. I know. That's right. Should not even be. Right, and so prior to the pandemic, we were at about 8.4%, and during the pandemic, it increased for everybody, not just Azusa. I know, yes. And we're working really hard. We're right now at 21%, so we've seen a lot of growth. Yeah, so before the pandemic, we were where? So that would be in English language arts in 2022. Measures and systems. Most schools have dropped this year. Just a couple of schools did not. Had some struggles with subgroups, but everybody's doing it. So that's chronic absenteeism, but then attendance rate is just the general, the amount of students that come to school each day. And we're at right now almost 93%. We're getting better for our ABAs. We're trying. I know. That's what we're doing. We want to get it up to 90. Yeah. Oh, that would be great. Wouldn't it? And you know from your attendance background too. Well, yeah, when I did something in the middle. Yeah. It was always over in and they're very interested in yeah. You know, I'm well, it's great. It's really important that you well, I was a technician. I don't know how to take yeah. I think they're attendance. They're just, I'm not sure their names. Yeah, but they get the training. You get the training to sometimes it's all what you're saying, yeah. You know, and you need to have hand projects, and here's the period. And I'm like, oh, Jenny, stepping out of the second period. I'm afraid she would have humped me down in the bathroom. When I left, they're like, thank God.
I'm trying to mom right now. But you know, I mean, that's what it does what it takes. That's what I'm saying. You have to take on it. You have to call them. And then, well, you look at your dress code and you have shirt and body. Put them on. I mean, you can make the parents responsible. Not that any work. Well, no, your girl comes dressed like, you know, she'll come in be young girl and she's wearing these shorts for one but start with them. But we need to make parents really do it. Maybe the school, maybe the teacher, maybe the lady or whatever. This was whomever. Then you have okay. I know it's Maria's not very long. And Maria, you know, the kids, she was prior to me, but I know she used to sit out when we did. Yeah. I used to throw the short. Yeah, Maria said. Yeah, and in certain instances, so again, they used to go home. We still are, yeah, we still are. You're doing that. We've had a huge attendance effort, so. You would get those kicks there. But I was talking about that. I just, not even my job. Right. It is my responsibility, so I took it to the heart that I had to find out how to run it. Your job. Get out of the job. Yeah, he was here, he was at the park. Okay, who are you with? He's like, banana. Who are you with? Oh, Hugo was there too. I'm like, okay. Yeah, but by the end, I said, thank you. Who else is there? Oh, you were there, and you know, then you were there, and you know, I said, I was at this class at this small grad, and I called them up. And the kids all come, they're like, come on, Mom. It's my job. I'm sure going to take care of you. But you know, we just have to just, that's kind of about the relationship, right? You develop the relationship. And this is the relationship that parents are home. Well, yeah, and that's a part of the community, right? Relationships. If the parents are feeling comfortable, they can call you. Yeah. It's okay, Mayor. So we put those things, we go to class, security. Nobody knew. No, but they put that in my calendar. That's the relationship. With the students, which, you know, I think that's where community schools comes in. For sure. Right? Yeah. And look, you know, it's not for the principals for, the secretaries for. You're absolutely right. Right? And that's good. Remember, and that's no, one or two people that are your community staff. No, there's our community, the principal, the secretary, the teacher, the new days. And that's also the people that my little one. I was talking to him around. So we took care of it. I went to BCC after high school, but the point is, it's so hard to get something. It's so easy. She didn't wear socks. It was cold. That's what my parents used to always tell me. I even wear socks all day. But that's, I think it's so important to have the support of the community. When you really support the parents, but not for them, but also the students. The students, if they trust you, they would be a better student. They really were, and I think this is where all this comes in. Starting with the students, all this thing we talked about. You know, because it's all, you know what, the implementation is right? You know, and I'm not your equal, but you know, it's my job. Oh, okay. But, that's what we need to do, is get more, and I don't know if it's training, because I don't know exactly what would it be.
I think, you know what, I love your words, we made sure that it's empowering.
And
Right?
calling, that's
We're
the
trying to
word.
empower them to feel like, yeah, I can do this, I understand, you know, what I.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. That's what, I have a child here, and I'm probably in the office, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna learn. Because I just did more, because I do help them think. Oh, no, you can take it. What kind of culture is that? No. You have to do it. You can manage your child, and they take care of it. How to think. That's what you do. But you can teach them.
We talk a lot about this. Community schools with all that, right, is relationship centered, not just how we relate to parents, but how all of
And I
us.
like when I do go to community schools, and I do see that. I go to different ones, and I do see the parent relationship with the community school spaces.
Well, and that's one of the things that I used to be like,
I'm gonna ask you again. Oh, you didn't know. Oh, the iron didn't work. No, because it's not that great. I always bet they loved it. It's such a term of endearment. I always do. It works. It's just an endearment.
yeah, no, I
Oh,
agree.
but I mean, and even what I was just, what I was hearing today. Some of these so that every grade level is example on how to make so it's like values more personal. It's a tool. So that you always get to be like, regardless of anything, these are the ones that are school funded. That PTA that have they funded we have. So I was there, I'm sorry, I feel really hard. Like the only way I'm fundraising for school, but does that mean if we don't fundraise, like our kids are not gonna go? Or the conversation like you just explained, like. Right, I thought, I brought donuts to accuse my students of like, sweeten up your mouth. What are you doing? And they understood, but they understood that it was so, like, I'm gonna use some trick for you, I know what it is too. And they would all just respond well. Turn it around. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then on the site, I would like, I mean, just around the dog. And, but you and then they go. Or, all they need is a little, I mean, it's,
Talking our language, girl. Yeah, I know. No, but you speak the language of love. You know, I wanted to speak the way I would not, I couldn't understand. And I'm like.
All right, that concludes that round. So if you can finish up your thoughts and conversation and your notes. And we're going to start shifting to our, I believe, our final rotation. This is it. You guys are almost there. We're in the home stretch. One more goal. Yes.
Oh, no.
All right, I'm going to work on my timer. So make your way to your final goal. All right, let's move to our next one. All right, Miss Arellanes, we need you to move to the next one. Mr. Greer, we also need you to move. Dr. Bo, parent engagement is waiting for you right over here. We're almost there. All right. Timer has started for your final goal.
But they are not evaluated on the measure. Okay, so when we say, so this is the dashboard measure. Yeah, so that would be K8. Okay, yeah, so. No, you can call that out and make it clear. So what are our internal measures? So our internal measures are, we can actually, in Aries, so why are they all chronic absenteeism? Okay, so this is K12. So weekly, I send a press. I'm sorry. So high school, yeah, you're right. Very good. It's very, that's why it's not all of the internal measure and the from Gary. So that, I think it's like 32%. So at least we didn't. Because it's political. It probably has period, some period in time. This has period of one as well. It's not the best measure, but it is a measure that gets us. Show their overall. We should probably recall that out. They don't write a goal. They do address goals in their own success and their own plan. They can't ignore it. The dashboard will figure out all. Yeah. I mean, I think if we just said grades of students in grade K to 8. Yes, I just like my students and learn like, oh, yeah, because we're a 7-12 school. Yeah. Like, oh, this is our goal is to, well, middle center has to build that. Okay, yeah. Hopefully, right? Yeah. I think it's like, so I will just put the big measure on it. So then, exactly. And the highest
Middle school. As you saw, made a comment. Yeah. Okay, so here's the. What percentage of homeless kids? Paul will definitely know that for sure. Yes, like your school probably seen better, but it's slow. Sorry, I don't know. Well, it's why I feel like there was yeah. This one is more on parents, and we use chronic absenteeism because of the college that connects, when parents are welcome to, parents feel empowered. Blue, yeah, blue. A safe school environment. Students feel connected. Students felt safe. So this is from the student perspective. And then these percentages we use about parents. Students were safe at school. Parents are saying high school parents, 39% of parents who go back to school, students are safe at school. So we chose that parent measure for that goal, not for the parent engagement goal because that's the right. Maybe it's because I that one, but to me this really stands out. When students are surveyed on their belief, which will foster the culture of respect and 31% of elementary school kids said that. Yeah, it's high school where kids don't care, it's 39, but why are elementary care, my kids saying that remember these schools are not third on it. It's not the list, it's not the list. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I'm not there yet. That's why I was like, how do I know that? Can you in terms of you're talking about, right? Perception of the snapshot. You're like, what was the snapshot of the day, or did they understand? We were very curious by that data. At their level. So that I'd like to know where that's coming from. Hey, I know it is or I'm getting singled out because that could both be like, I don't know.
the walk. Everyone comes from, so there's a list within the group that we can share, so that's the overall, and then there's the core findings that then give them the total response to that degree to which they're engaged. So this is a self-report. Yes, yes, parents report. How does this, or is this somewhere like sign-in sheet, where it's coming to conferences and coming to events? Or
We don't have that data. We don't have that data. I mean, that might be a wondering or a suggestion, you know, how do we create a
But this is,
system?
because like you said, this is a self-reporting, sure, and as we can see, a small percentage of our parents even report, we go hours.
I mean, I think about like, whenever we have a, you know, 50% of parents on the fall conference. Yeah, right? Or, you know, if we talk with the principal, we really have 15, we want to get to 30. Yeah. Like that kind of.
Yeah, wondering about kind of,
Sign-in
data versus survey data. Okay. Because you already gathered that data anyway for ELAC, which is like council or conference.
Right, yeah, you know, you're going to things. Okay, so,
It's that number. The thing with ELAC, be representative of the school site.
and what was our survey participation?
Elementary, 34%, middle, 15%, high school, 26%. We have 2 minutes. So only a quarter of high school families.
But it says participation.
Parents and families who are getting in and be proceeded through the district. So these are this is the percentage of people who actually reported the Yeah, yeah.
Participate while participating in the programs for unduplicated students through youth annual district and district.
That is hard. I agree. I think it's because that unduplicated.
Well, I mean,
I think that's what it's saying, but let's ask Adriana because the unduplicated students.
I want to know like the response rate. Because I think that's another piece of. We want to have, so we have the survey data. So we only have 25% response rate.
Do you have a, another time we did answer quick question?
How many parents will respond?
What is this exactly? We know this is the percentage of students that participated in the district survey, but it says programs for unduplicated students. Was there some sort of filter for the families? Yes. Okay.
We can filter by.
So foster youth.
But is this, but on these percentages, does this tell us 34% of elementary parents took the survey? Is that what this means? Yes. Okay. Oh, yes. And I think I asked, like,
Yeah, actually, this is because
Is that
this
good
is your
or
feedback,
bad?
Dr. Bo. Thank you. This is actually,
you should feel empowered and decision making.
I'm glad you said that. Put your signature here.
I think with that, what we shared, and I shared that your suggestion was that we should be ready. Great. So then I wonder about the metric. I feel like it could be more simple, like with response rate. Like give us a response.
Shall we write that?
And then
you can sign it while you do it.
I think what the response rate, so I mean, like, this tells me that only 15% of middle school parents fill out the survey.
Yeah, they,
I school, that could, this is So you want to make this house a goal? Yeah. This is what it is. The goal is 50%. Our goal is 50%. Yes, it's called. It's how to knock out. I'll write that down. Thank you, thank you. Goal 4, and that is metric number 5.
All right, everyone, that concludes our gallery walk. Hopefully, it was a great experience. I am going to ask you to return to your seats. And that we do want to give you a little bit of time to review the notes from your note catcher as you made some observations in your I notice column. You may have had some questions in your I wonder column. And maybe some suggestions for us to consider as we continue drafting this plan. So I'm going to set the timer for 5 minutes of your quiet time to review your notes, because we are going to ask each board member to share a highlight from their notes for each of the goals. Or you can offer a suggestion, an I wonder statement, or an I notice. So again, we're going to give you 5 minutes to review your notes, and then we're going to have each board member share out. Okay, that is, we have 2 minutes left. Just want to let you know we have 2 minutes left to review your notes and to prepare your share out. All right, and that is time. So I'll let you finish up that last sentence. As you prepare, we're going to give each of you an opportunity to report out regarding your gallery walk. You've reviewed your notes. This is the board's opportunity to give us input. You can make recommendations, you can make suggestions. So we can take these recommendations and suggestions as we continue to work on our draft of this new 3-year plan that we will present in June for us to review and for you to approve. As we share out, you can share 1 or 2 highlights from your notes. It could be from your I notice column, I wonder, or I suggest column. And we'll go ahead and get started. Do we have a volunteer to go first? Dr. Bo?
And to be clear, we can comment on all 5 of the goals?
Correct.
Would you like us to start with one and then do, or board president, would you like us to start with board president? Would you like us to offer one comment on a goal and then like talk about goal 1, all of us first?
Yeah, that'd be a great idea, yes.
Okay.
We'll all do 1 and then we'll all do 2 and is that
Perfect.
fine? Okay.
So we'll
Yes,
start and
thank
we'll
you
just
for that
head around.
suggestion.
So goal 1, I wonder, and I've talked about it with staff at the table, if we should increase our SBAC goal to 10% growth versus 5% growth. And I advocate for more music and VAPA teachers at the elementary level.
Thank you.
Board Member Arianes?
Yes.
Thank you.
So I am going to suggest that for metric 10, to start the focus with first grade, continue with second, and add third grade to this metric, since this is a 3-year ambitious continuous school. For math, I'm going to suggest for metric 11 to begin the focus with second grade, continue with third, and add fourth grade. Again, to the metric to obtain a 3-year ambitious continuous goal that we are doing with this LCAP is a 3-year goal. Thank you.
Okay, and I wonder if we notice the the first graders had 21% and the second graders had 24.5%. And this is the first time that we did this thing. I wonder if we test the first graders when they go to second grade, so that we can see if they do have growth. So I recommend that we do follow the child from the first grade to second grade and see if do they need more assistance or are they progressing. So that also shows how we're doing.
Thank you.
Board Member Benavides?
Okay, I think I'm still trying to wrap my head around this, but one of the things I noticed is that the goal 1, the target outcome for every 3 years was 5%. So I wondered if that 5% is a good percentage to work from, but then I heard from some of the comments that because pre-pandemic or something, we haven't really had some of the Norma, if you could help me out, Norma, so the English learners are, right, this was separated or it's going to be separated. So we really haven't given it an opportunity to measure some of these. Is that correct?
So goal 2 that we looked at used to, in our current LCAP that we're living in right now, was embedded in goal 4. So it was part of academic achievement, but now we've peeled it away to begin to look at that group of students more closely, more specifically in terms of their needs.
Okay, and then I think when I was talking to group, whoever was presenting on goal 1, I can't remember, but we were talking about how, I mean, I still hear pre-pandemic and how we were performing then versus how we're performing now. So when I'm thinking of this, and I'm thinking of all the goals, I'm thinking of, are we really giving ourselves an opportunity to change anything here when we're really not there yet? I mean, I know that we've made improvements on some of the attendance, I think, I'm talking to the ladies, but what about our goals here, right? And these metrics have we given them a chance? And I think that's kind of where I'm at right now, so.
Okay, Board Member Greer?
So my synthesis is less targeted on each goal, and it's kind of more overarching across the goals. So I can I can speak to that now, or maybe wait till everybody else is done. Maybe why don't I wait till everyone is done and I can speak to overarching things.
Okay, that's fine. Yes, yes. Goal 2, Board Member Moore?
For goal 2, I have the same, wondering about increasing our target to be 10% instead of 5%.
Board Member Arianes? Yeah, the brown one in the corner. Yeah, you got it.
It's the EL goal, goal 2.
Correct.
You have it in front of you.
Okay. So, I noticed that, which it's showing in the data that SEAL is actually really just coming on and into our schools. And the program is actually, it's shown in the data that the increase with our students. And so I'm really happy that Dalton is next. A suggestion. Thinking about looking at an annual target to move to a more ambitious 3-year outcome. So since again, these are 3-year, it's a 3-year goal, but breaking it down year. So that way it's you're working backwards to achieve the 10%.
Okay. And I wonder, the LTAL students, their LTAL students because they do not reclassify after 6 years. So I'm wondering, why are they not reclassifying within 6 years? I really think that we need to work harder. I should have looked, but if it was there, like, how many of those students do not reclassify? That's what I wonder. But I also, my suggestion is to have a bilingual aide in the classroom, like to assist the teachers, because the teacher has the EL students, the newcomer students, the LTL student. It's like having um, a combo first and second grade classroom. And I don't think it's fair to the students, or it's not fair to the teacher that's doing double work. So they should have an instructional aide there to assist them. And I also feel that suggestion, make it mandatory for students, if you are an EL student, to replace an EL, because I do know parents do not want to put their students, they'll lie and not say that they speak English because they have to fill out the language survey. And also work with the parents and let them know how important it is for their child's education if they are placed in that classroom to help them succeed, right? So that's my suggestion.
Well, with
Board
goal,
Member Benavides, too?
yeah, with goal two, one thing I noticed is that the students that reclass outperform the overall student population. So one of the questions I had is why? And I mean, it's great, right? But what are we doing different with the overall population that maybe we need to hone in on so they could start performing or, performing at a higher level? Maybe more tutoring, I'm thinking, or maybe in classroom tutoring, or having an assist. I don't know, how that works. If we have student aides, or I just something like a buddy system for just having more availability of student aides, or a tutor, things like that. And then I did notice a disparity between the English learners and all the students who are meeting the standards. So that was kind of an eye-opener for me. And I think I learned that the last time too. So I think that's interesting because as a English learner, right? It's like you're learning, I mean, you have more struggles to work through, but yet they start outperforming the overall student population. So I think, and it's hard to bring into today, like, what can we do to grow the overall student population, but maybe finding different maybe resources or tutoring programs, or I don't know. I mean, maybe doing a survey for the students. What is it? What are we doing different, or what could we do better, I should say? Okay, thank you.
Board Member Bo, we're on goal 3.
Thank you. Goal 3 is around college and career. 3 specific suggestions that I shared with Mr. Chang. One is the idea of developing a 5-year schedule of college tours, starting 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. And I say this because when I went to college as a first-gen college student, the first time I set foot on a campus is when I went to college. So I did all the applications, the essays, the paperwork on paper. So I think about if we said, okay, when you are an AUSD student, by the time you get to 11th grade and you're applying, you will have gone to 15 colleges, let's say, within the state. And I think that complements the work we're already doing around focused field trips to, as Mr. Chang was saying, Fresno for engineering, San Diego area and the Bay Area, so that in addition to what everyone gets to do, those CTE programs also have a specialized field trip. So that was for college tours. I encourage us to keep metric point 4 to be able to highlight the work we're doing in world language rather than including it in an existing metric. And then I know we are working to expand world language offering in middle school, and I would really support our effort to include grades 6 and 7 to be eligible to take world language. And instead of beginning in 8th grade, beginning that at 6th grade. So wondering what kind of movement we can make there. Thank you.
Board Member Arias?
I think this is a really important goal. I really like that soon we will have the apprenticeship, hire our students after their internship. The suggestion on recovery, right, for the students that need to recover classes. The question is, how well are we implementing goals, especially in training all staff to deliver these opportunities to students? So we have some staff that need a little training on how to deliver these goals and how to get a student to understand and not just give a paper to the student, follow these instructions. No, to actually, hand hold the student so that way they are able to go on to Apex. Once they're on Apex and they learn how to get on, then release them. And so I think that all staff needs training on that and how learning and meeting the child where they're at. Thank you.
And for myself, I wonder why the rates are so low for the homeless. It's 75%, and the EL 69%. So I wonder, do we give our students mock? The tests that are given in college. Are we giving them like mock tests so they know what they're walking into and they're not just like taking the test? How are we preparing our children to take tests that are college because they're different than when they're in school, right? So, and also, yeah, I agree. And like, on field trips, have them go to different field trips and see different things that go on in the world, different colleges. I think the CTE courses, we should monitor those yearly to see we're in the right trades. Trades change very quickly. And I do agree with, but I also think that we should also have trades for our students, welding, electrician, any trades. We're in the 21st century, so things have changed, computers and so forth. So we should look at I'm not sure how often we look at our CT courses, but periodically, for sure, like every 3 years. Let's see, it's working for us. We can also put new ones in, expand them. Because I'm in the ROP and I visit other schools, they have some pretty neat stuff at the other school. But then again, they're like, well, we like the ones they have at my school, right, in my district. So I just think that we need to look into them more frequently. Thank you. Board Member Benavides.
So goal 3, one of the things that I noticed is that, I noticed and I learned that meeting the college career preparation indicator, that you only have to meet, I think is it one that you said? One of those, that criteria in that group. And I thought that as a district, we should really, I know we focus on meeting these goals here. So one of the things that I was asking about was, and I really like the apprenticeship program, but not just that program, I really like that we're doing everything as a district to prepare those that don't want to go to a university or don't want to move on to college, that we are looking at apprenticeship program, that we have the other different programs that are available. But I also asked about the transportation piece for the apprenticeship program, because that's a barrier, right? We have different barriers. So that was one of my questions is, do we have the transportation? How are we going to do that? Are we working on it? So staff is looking at different ways to work through that barrier. I think one of the questions I asked was, how far do we go? We go to Pasadena is the furthest I think we can go. another thing I asked about, and I wonder if we can get like parent vouchers, maybe some kind of grant funding for parent vouchers to supply them with, a voucher that can give them more money, funds to get transportation, especially nowadays with gas prices. But, and then also another thing that I would like to see, and I don't know how, I didn't get to get all the answers to my questions, but I don't know how soon we do, like financial aid preparation for some of the students. I would like to see that. Maybe, I don't know if we start that in middle school. When do we start that? If we start that, or do we wait till we're in, ninth grade or 10th grade, or when do we do that? I know for me personally, when I was in school, one of the things that I thought, right, because I was, I come from a single parent household, it was like, well, my parents can't afford school. So if and when maybe we could start some kind of a program sooner for financial aid, teaching the children, the students really, what financial aid is, how, where they, the resources, bringing in the parents sooner sooner rather than later, so that they could already start preparing, or have that mindset that no, I can do this. There's means out there, there's resources. So I really think that that's something that is a barrier for a lot of people. It's a sensitive topic for parents as well. So I think maybe having that discussion way in advance. So that would be maybe establishing some kind of a form, when they enroll the student, do you know what financial aid is? But I wanted to say that I really enjoyed this what we did right now, the setup, and I want to thank the staff for all their hard work, because for me, it was an eye-opener, and you can't learn everything, but I learned a lot, and I appreciate everyone's hard work and time, and the staff as well here at the cabinet. Thank you.
Actually, I have two quick ones.
No,
on-
you have to wait now.
on this one.
Okay, Board Member Carroll, we're on. You're on.
No, I noticed and was just really impressed with the number 950 students that we have that are part of the CTE program. That's just that is just an incredible number, one. And then two, wanted to throw out I would fall into the suggestion category. I agree that my thoughts is keeping whatever that was at 3.4, those two items pulled out from 3.1. I agree that makes sense, so that we can keep those two items in front and not buried in the first goal.
We're on goal 4, Board Member Bo.
Around goal 4, collaboration and partnerships within our community. One suggestion is for metric 5 to make it a little bit more streamlined. I think what we're asking is respond to the survey, so the response rate. And then I'm suggesting that our response rate target would be 50% among all school level. Thank you.
Board Member Arianes.
Yes, I'm going to suggest that for the goals, that we also work on short-term goals and long-term goals. That way there is some type of, different way of looking at it, because it's just, again, one large sum. Is it 3 years? Is it 2 years? Where are we hitting the mark? Where do we want to be in 1 year, in the next year, and the third year? Right. And so just being able to go ahead and do that. And then the attendance campaign, if we want to go ahead and reduce the absenteeism, what are we doing? How are we incentivizing our families? How are we connecting to our families right? Because the child may be ready to go to school, but if the parent needs some type of resource or has a need as a family, how are we addressing that? Right. So I think it's really important to start a campaign and involve the parents in the decision making and how this campaign can be implemented, because these are their children. So, and have some some parties for them or something, because seriously, like, it really makes a big difference in a child's, life. Oh, we're gonna have a hot dog, luncheon or something like that. Back when we were in the classroom, and we actually had some type of campaigns like that, and it really increased a lot of the attendance in the schools that I was at. So I would suggest the attendance campaign.
And I have for my specialty, this is my specialty, chronic attendance. I was the attendance lady. And I've noticed that students with disability, they have a 29.1%. That's very high. And I would like to know, I mean, I don't know if they're ill, if they can get there. What are we doing to help these children get to school? Because it's really important that they're in school, but also there are students, and we need to treat them all the same like our other students. I think that we need to go an extra mile to help the students on disability students. And our EL students have 22.5% also. And I wonder regarding if some of these kids are in need of clothing, if some of these kids are in need of food, do we have, I know we have Alicia Torres Sharp, is she giving the references to them that they can reach, who they can reach out to, if that is the reason? We just need to know the reason behind it. But if there is a reason, how can we help them find their way? I think that's our job. And same thing with the attendance on awards. When I go to the high schools, the alternative high school and even Azusa High School, those students get perfect attendance. They're so happy. We need to continue doing that. And also in the middle school, Mr. Perdomo had quite a few kids. There was a long line of kids getting awards for all kinds of stuff. And I think it was really, a lot of parents were there. They had balloons and everything. They're all like so happy. And I think that's really true, that we need to recognize these students so other students will maybe want to be doing the same thing, and get awards. I think that it's important, but also the needs of the family, the needs of the school, we need to also show them the way. How can we help them? I had a call the other day, a family needed food, and they called me, and I have people that I can call to get them food. And who knows, that maybe they didn't come to school because they did not. But I do like that we have the breakfast, the lunch, and the dinner, right? So we do, but there's always weekends, there's always nights, there's things that I think, I just want to do more. But my suggestion is also to train, I shouldn't say train, give workshops to our office staff, workshops on how to when they're absent, when they're tardy. It's not a punishment because you're not in school. It's not a punishment because you're late. Why are they late? We wouldn't know that, but it's the way you come across, and that's I was as an attendance technician. I think that we need to build trust with the students, build trust with the parents, and it needs to be even the cafeteria worker, the custodian, the administration. It will make a difference. So also talking about the surveys, do not have at the same time. I've had parents that were talking, we had at the same time, and they thought they already filled out the survey, but they didn't. It was another survey that was going on at the same time. That's what I do not recommend that we should do. But community schools is doing a fantastic job. I've been to many school sites, and I see many parents asking many questions. But this is our job to help them find their way. Board Member Benavides.
With respect to attendance, what I did notice is that during the pandemic, they were sharing with me that we were 40%, students were absent. And then before COVID, it was 8.4%. And then now we're at 21%. So we are improving, which is good. But, and I did notice that one of the things that was pointed out was that 93% of the kids are coming to school, and the norm is 96%. I also noticed that family engagement during the elementary level, that was the highest. It was elementary, and then at middle school, it starts decreasing. I think there was like a 20% gap. And then at high school, it even drops more. So when they're going to middle school, that's when you really need the parents involved. So it makes me wonder, are we really reaching out to these parents? What are we doing? How do we improve? Because I know we're reaching out, but how do we improve our outreach efforts to the parents? Are we communicating in all languages? I'm a big proponent for making sure that we have, material in all languages. Whether it's school or a community meeting, that's my first question. So I also was wondering, do we have enough parent training workshops? Right? And how do we get them to attend those workshops? Technology training for parents. I think that's important because, I mean, even me personally, sometimes I'm like, okay, I don't know how to use this feature on my phone. I'm struggling, right? And I mean, I think I'm pretty smart, I mean, I'm not patting myself on the back or anything, but I think, I struggle with that myself. So what are we doing as a district to provide technology training, how to use an app, how to download an app, especially to this parents with a second, that are from a second language or that are trying to understand how to do that. Another thing I wondered about and I asked about are paper flyers. What are we, I know we got away from that. I've had conversations with the mayor about that. And it's like, because I brought me back to that community meeting we had regarding security. And one of the things that was emphasized is yes, we're using Peach Jar, we're using technology to communicate with parents, but I really think that we are doing ourselves a disservice as a district because in reality, there are parents out there that aren't tech savvy or need more training with technology. So I wonder about that. I would suggest that one of the things I did notice, and I was asking about this, is does our the school plan at each school, does it align with the overall district plan? And I think that's what they were doing, moving in that direction. So I think that's really important because then we have a specific plan for each school. So I was wondering, is that something that, is this a new feature or are we moving in that direction for the first time? I didn't get, we didn't get to all the questions I had, but I also think that to get more parent engagement, I start thinking about, I didn't make it to the track meet. It's been kind of a crazy schedule for me lately, but I remember last year's, and then they talked about it at the Parks and Recreation meeting I went to the other day, that there was a big attendance. So I wonder that we look at those as opportunities when I've gone to the choir concerts and where there's a big turnout of parents. What are we doing there? How do we better engage the parents? Because the parents are turning out for those events, but they're not at board meetings. So what do we need to do to bring a communication piece to them there, whether it's maybe flyers that we have available for them there, maybe letting them know that when their child is in middle school, that's when they need to engage more. So just making them more aware, bringing more communication pieces where they can take it home and put it on their fridge versus, picking up the phone. I was sharing with the ladies that, I'm using my calendar more than ever in my lifetime now than I ever have. And I'm still trying to get that organized. But I think that it's something that we need to still remember as a district, that there are parents out there that need that piece of paper where they could put it on their fridge as a reminder. And I'm not saying that we have to look at every program, but those target areas that we need to hone in on as a district, whether it's, math or English or maybe doing more intervention for specifically for those students, so that we know that that we're doing our part to communicate with the parent And maybe having a table set up at each event where the turnout is big and saying, here are some resources for this. And, it's like they say, feed them, right? Give them food and they'll come. Well, I believe that we need to really focus on coming to those areas where parents show up, and we need to bring the resources to them. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Two really quick points here. One that I realized there, one that I realized after. The first one is if we look at what would this be? It's item number 5 on the measuring and reporting results. Number 5, it's just fascinating to me that we're looking and we're seeing elementary, the rate of points, et cetera here. We see that there's a 34% participation rate for elementary and a 26% participation rate for high school. So that definitely reflects a dip. But middle school it's such a sharp dip, and then there's an increase. It's just, so I guess I can put that in the, like, I wonder. I just wonder why that is. Yeah, there's what can be kind of pulled out, or what does that communicate? So that's in the wonder. And then the other thing I realized up here is we have in the title, it talks about engagement and empowerment with families through relationships, collaboration, and partnerships within our community. But I don't know that I saw any initiatives that really speak to engagement within the broader community, with community organizations, or like I think about why is it escaping me? Steve Castro. Why is the term the chamber? I just don't know what are some of those community-based organizations that we can be intentional to partner with, and I don't think I saw any of the initiatives that directly speak to that. And so that would be a suggestion that I would have.
We're on goal 5, board member Bo.
Goal 5 around safe and restorative school climates. One of the metric or one of the data points that I noticed was around students reported that they feel their school fosters a culture of respect and fairness. Only 31% of our elementary kids feel that way, 44% at middle school, and 39% at high school. I would like to know more about why a 3rd, 4th, and 5th grader in particular feels that their school does not foster a culture of respect and fairness. So I notice it, and I wonder how we can dig into that. And then for a suggestion, a wondering and a suggestion around our facilities rating of an average of 73% when our target is 96. I wonder, do we have a category of a lot of small things that kind of ding us across the board? Like, do we have extension cords all over the place, and is that the issue? Or do we have infrastructure issues that are inhibiting us from reaching that 96%? So I know there's more work to be done, but I wonder what that looks like, and then how do we key into improving it by naming that not only we want to get to 96%, but by naming the specific actions and of how to improve that, instead of only we're funding the MOT department. And I say that because when we hold ourselves accountable by putting an action or a number to something that's more specific, it enables us to track it over time. Thank you.
Ariana?
So goal 5 is to ensure safe and restorative school climates. One of the things that I'm really glad that we have is the Western Justice Center. We have brought restorative justice, and from my understanding is that students that choose to be part of it, and then there's students that are mandated to take these courses. And so what I'm going to suggest is, why don't they all take the courses? As we heard today, students, not just in middle school or high school, but even starting them at, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, and adding, embedding it into the component, in the learning component right? And especially when we have students that are suspended per se, and they have in-school suspension, and they're supposed to be doing some work, they're really not doing work. And what I've heard in the past, and I have seen as being at the high school for 15 years, there needs to be a little more structure on that, because, and why not give them those tools, right, of teaching them about restorative justice and feeding their soul, right? Because in reality, we still have a chance to make sure if they're in that, education to prison pipeline, if you give them those tools, they will run with it and they will come back and be much stronger. So I would like to see that added into, embedded into the learning component. PBIS. I'm going to be frank with you guys, working in the classroom, and it because of the fact that it has to be a school component, and each school builds it. We're talking about over 10 years ago, when this was introduced to our schools. We were supposed to have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. We never accomplished tier 3. So because we would just wait till next week or wait till next month. So what I would like to see is the PBIS reset, since it is part of the goal as well, and to have all the 3 tiers basically implemented before school starts, and that all of the teachers understand the 3 tiers. Because I'm going to tell you right now, teachers will say it doesn't work, and the reason they say it doesn't work is because they don't understand it.
And I have to add, I know the suspension rate on the low-income students is 12, 19, and the homeless was 6.5%, and the Latinos is 11.8%. So school climate, again, we go back to this thing, right? If students are not feeling comfortable in their school, which we did in the youth group survey regarding not feeling safe, right? What does that mean? Or not feeling heard, or not feeling participated. There's all these different little things. So I like to know, when we have these surveys, how do you say this? The family puts their name in there. So do we know who these families are, and who can we help? Who is responding to these surveys? They have their names and their schools and everything. Do we reach out and say, I noticed your son wrote, he wasn't feeling safe. How can we help him? Do we have that data that we can follow through? Not just have a piece of paper and say, okay, it's 90%, okay, well, and that's it. No, but the whole idea is to fix it. And I wonder, do we have that info? Because I have not heard that. And I feel PBIS, students have become take advantage of PBIS. It's been around for a very long time. And I think since, elementary school, right? So I think students have already taken advantage of it on PBIS. I do like that we have Second Call, Western Justice, and the well-being centers for these students to be heard. And for them being heard, do they know that it's available to them? Do we reach out? Do we tell them, do we have these things to offer? Give a reason they're afraid to come to school, or whatever the reason is. We want to, how do we pinpoint these kids, and how do we get them help? Because we have the help, but do they know where to go, who to speak to? Also, when as a student, you have to feel trust. You have to have trust in your teachers, or trust. You have to build that trust. When they're done that, I worked in junior high 40 years. I know. You have to kind of build it. And if they trust you, they'll tell you just about anything. If they need help, they'll tell you. And that's what we need. That's exactly what we need. And sometimes there's not a training for that. It's just who you are. And also, I was looking at the students that are suspended or students that get in trouble or students that don't come to school, you know, are we monitoring them? If they're seventh graders, have we checked in 10th grade? Are they doing the same? Are they doing better? Do they need more help? Do we monitor these students that have from elementary, well, even elementary, but middle school to high school? Because that's kind of the very hard part, even for them, because they're growing, and they can't even figure their own self out. How do we help them? Are we monitoring them if they be, you know, maybe I don't like to ever hear when people say they're never going to change. That's never going to happen. You can't have that mentality. So if we follow these kids, I think they feel important. I think they feel like, wow, they are watching me. I mean, maybe I will do better. So I think that's one of my suggestions to do. And also when they get suspended, don't just bring them back and just go to class. Let them know why they're suspended. How can we help? And it's just like every story. What are we doing to help them help themselves? That's real important. Wait a minute, we just.
This is goal 5. So one of the things that I also noticed was the suspension rate. So the suspension rate for the students, like Board Member Rodriguez Peña was talking about, the homeless and the low-income students. And one of the things that I also asked of the staff was, how, do we monitor them? Do we put together a plan for the students? Because I've always heard that, even in business, they say the success is in the follow-up. So I'm going to apply that same methodology here. The success is in the follow-up. Are we following up? Do we have case managers at the middle schools, where we need them? Where do we need them most? Because, and maybe that's something we need to look at. I know I asked a question, and I think they shared with me that we have a homeless foster liaison. Is that person only, there's one liaison, is that only at that one school? Maybe we do need to bring in case managers. I know they're working on social workers. So are we looking at one social worker? But social workers have different skill levels than the case managers. The case managers can do the follow-up. But I also think that having more personal development for students, right? Because I believe what was shared right now about when you engage with the student, they feel they are important. I mean, that's why we're all here, right? So I think that having them, some kind of a motivational, personal development, that, they're worthy, of who they are, because they are, and that we're investing in them, and that we believe in them. So I really think that we need, more case management, follow-up, whether it's at the middle school. And I think when you put together a plan that follows the student and you follow up, I really believe that these numbers will go down. So I think, and at the same time, getting the parent engaged. I really believe that we need to have more parent engagement when we're putting together a plan, maybe talking to the parent prior to talking to the student, saying, what do you think? How can we help you help the student, right? So I think that's kind of where I was at with that.
Okay, Board Member Greer?
All right. Just some overarching thoughts that I have, speaking to the various categories. One of the major thoughts that I wondered is what informs our targets. So even Board Member Bo, I hear you one of the things you suggested is, instead of increasing 5%, would love to see us increase academic achievement to 10%, or SBAC to 10%. And I mean, I say 50%. Why not 60%? Let's increase it to the 100% across the board for everyone. But I imagine that there's something that's informing our targets where we're trying to look at and say, in a 3-year period, where are we and what can we do? Or are we shooting for the stars and saying we don't believe that we'll actually hit this in 3 years, but we're gonna aim for this, because if we get halfway there, then that's better. And I don't know that I'm critiquing one way or another if that's what we're doing. I'm just wondering what informs our targets. Because I have sat in this seat enough that when we come around to having these conversations and we talk about where we are, we will get to the point where we look at, this is what the target was, and this is where we were, and then we kind of just shift and say, but we're going to try again for this next time around. But then a lot of times some of those areas kind of still remain stagnant. And so I guess I just wonder what informs our goals. It was even pointed out, if I look at, it was goal 5, and looking at, it's on the second page, item 9, the degree to which students are connected and have a sense of belonging at school through the Youth Truth Survey. And it says elementary, we want to have them at or above 70, middle at or above 60, high school at or above 60. And then what that reflects, the blue reflects that there was a change. And so we looked into what that change meant. And so there was a drop in 5 percentage points for elementary as the target, a drop in 5 percentage points for the middle school, and then an increase in 5 percentage points for high school. And I guess I'm just curious what informs the various targets. It really speaks to something else that I put in. Board Member Vo, you made a comment about this, and I think you had better language than I did. I put on there something like taking a hard look at these things. And that's not to say that we're not constantly taking a hard look at these things, but I appreciate the language that you put around like naming. Like if we just are really intentional about in the various categories, if we're naming something, like how comfortable are we saying as collectively us AUSD, this is a weak spot for us AUSD, and naming it in such a way, not so that we like just spend time wallowing in the despair of what some of those numbers are, but to say, okay, if we can name this and be realistic about what this is, then how do we address it? And I saw that throughout in various places. Like, for example, when we looked at our English learners, and we talked about how can we pull out, instead of just broadly saying English learners, let's separate that out and say, how do we address the LTELs versus newcomers versus these various things. I think those types of steps, I believe are helpful if we're able to get to the nitty grit, to identify where specifically within each of these categories are we showing weakness, and then what interventions do we put in place to address these areas of weakness. Yeah, I guess I'd love to get to a point where I don't know what is increased accountability. Look, I'm not sure. I don't have suggestions here, but I'd love to get to a point where we're able to look at some of these targets that we have and have honest conversations about the the accountability of it, so that we don't just move on to the next LCAP and we're still shooting for 70%, but we're still at 20, and we've been at 20 for the previous 20 years, but we're still shooting for 70. How do we actually have some iterative goals? Can we break apart, as Board Member Ariana said? Do we look to break apart within our 3-year goals? We believe that we can achieve this in a year, and we believe we can achieve this in the second year and in the third year. And can we have reviews midway where we're not just looking at, we're still aiming for 70, even though we're still at 20, but we can say in the first year, in order to hit 70 in the first year, we need to get to 40. We need to get to 35. Where are we now, and what do we need to adjust? So my suggestion is, I don't know, us taking some harder, real serious look at some of these things, really identifying things, really putting some things in place to address those pieces, and not being okay with just kind of moving forward, even though we're not hitting some of those, we're consistently not hitting those targets. It made me also wonder, it was a really good kind of point that you had, Adriana, around and I heard it throughout, but it was the first goal that I was on, where we had COVID. What are the ways in which, and this makes sense to me, what are the ways in which maybe we had some of these initiatives in place, but COVID? And so when we say but COVID, maybe it didn't allow us to actually give this a God's honest effort because of the ways in which COVID interrupted those things. That makes a lot of sense to me if that's what we're saying, that we believe that these things would have or could have, but for COVID. So I want to allow for that, potential exception there. But with that in mind, and where COVID doesn't apply, I guess I continue to wonder, and I did see it throughout, but would love to see more. Like, what are the things that we're doing differently? Recognizing that we said, if you see something in, this is how I interpret it, if you see something in black, then largely that's what was kind of already there. If you see something in blue, that reflects a change. Red, I interpreted it as kind of more so communicating, this is the new data that we've collected to kind of paint the picture of where we are in this particular area. But with that, I saw a lot of black. I don't know if it's specifically not, if there was a lot more new that just was still within the various black font color. But if that's accurate, then it does kind of look like a lot of very similar things. But if we're not hitting some of those targets, where do we really start to say we really got to put some new thought and some new ideas and some new kind of interventions in place? So it may be there, but it just wasn't clearly spelled out because it was also in black. The only other thing, suggestion, oh no, actually I have two more suggestions. One is on the overview, it would be very helpful. I appreciated having the overview in front of me, especially as I was looking at some of the other, at the draft for this upcoming one. It would actually be very helpful if the overview also contained the baseline for that time period, just so that as we're looking here, we can see where has the baseline grown, where has the target grown, just as another means of holding ourselves accountable. And then I also noticed that there are some goals that say increase or decrease by a certain percentage points, and some that have a specific target. And in some places it made a lot of sense to me, but I also saw some inconsistencies across the goals where sometimes the language and symbols that are used are intended to mean, it will say the same thing, but one of them means increase to this level, and one of them means increase by these percentage points. So maybe just for the sake of consistency across the goals, just kind of looking at that to ensure that the targets make sense and are worded consistently to make sense across the goals. Those are all of them. Yeah.
You sure?
I'm not sure, but I'm confident enough. So.
Board Member Arianes?
I'm going to go back to goal 5. One of the things that I asked, and I keep asking about our social workers, and I hear that we're getting there, the job description, and we can't do this fast enough. As a clinical social worker myself, it's really important I understand the need of what is happening, not just at Gladstone Middle School, Azusa High School, the fights that are happening, right, restorative justice, and social workers, do the micro and the macro, which is the meso. They do the case management and they do the clinical. So it is so important that as we hear our community, our school communities saying they need an administrator, they also need a clinical social worker as well. So I'm going to put a little pressure, meaning that can we have a time frame on when that is going to take place? I'm requesting if we could have a time frame, and so the board, if we are already allocating a budget for this and the money's already there and we're just waiting for this to be implemented, what is the holdup, guys? Come on, let's get the social workers in there to help us out. And one thing that I actually heard Board Member Benavida say, can we create a refrigerator magnet? And I thought, that would be amazing to have a refrigerator magnet that says AUSD with our logo on it and a QR code, right? Because if a parent wants to find out, hey, what's happening, right? In with AUSD, they can scan the code, bam, they go straight to our website.
But I think they would also need a phone number. What if you don't have a phone?
Oh, wait, there's more. So a QR code for the ones that, have the smartphones where you can go ahead and access our website to get the latest news of what's happening. But also, as a parent, I want to know, is my child being tested? Right? So hold on, do you have a question?
No.
Oh, no, if they,
No, I'm looking at you.
So for example, like implementing, for example, my son's being tested at first grade for reading, right? It's going to be a 3-year mark. So I, as a parent, can participate on my end, right? If I know that this is the AUSD is assessing my child, guess what? Since we are doing, engaging the parents in school communities, let's engage them as well to participate. Hey, at least that they're knowledgeable of, what, my child's going to be assessed in first grade, second grade, and third grade, for reading. So that way, because that way I know, and we're doing this as, collectively, me at home, you as a school district, for math as well. Anyhow, and that can be, added on, I don't know, to our website as well. So parents understand what our goals, right, as a district are for this LCAP. Because we can sit here and set all these goals, but if the parents don't understand, we're not engaging them in the goals then, if they're not understanding. So, and in this magnet that I would like to see with our logo that we give to students and parents and community members and whatnot to put on the refrigerator, let's include the National Suicide Awareness number. Let's include all those numbers that are needed, that our families need. So it's right there, and we as a district are providing that for them. And so, I don't know what else to add on there. So, anyhow, the magnet sounds really good. Thank you for suggesting that.
Okay, so any further? Okay.
I have a few comments. So another thing that I thought about, and this I thought about before the meeting today, because one of the things that and I thought about is maybe having the district, because we see the Azusa in a minute, right? Azusa in a minute, and then you send it out to the parents. So parents are more, they're more engaged, or they're more apt to like hit a YouTube to see what's going on versus reading something. Oh, I'll read it later, At least with the YouTube, if you could explain the LCAP, what it means, or, even doing a piece on, how parents should be involved more when they're in the middle school, or telling them, giving them these statistics in the YouTube, saying, this is why we need parents involved. Now it's great to hear what we are doing, but how do we engage the parents? Maybe doing a YouTube on different, different, highlighting these goals and what we need to do to improve the goals, whether it's, parent engagement, or, increasing, or getting them involved in in the apprenticeship program, putting out the information in a YouTube. And it doesn't have to be a long one, but maybe where you give the piece and say, contact this person. Because I literally do that. I'll be doing, something at home, and I'll listen to the YouTube, and then I could always go back and listen to it again. So I think parents would be more engaged in listening to that while they're doing something. And I did want to make another comment. So I was wondering, so what is, and I think Board Member Greer talked about this, but what are we doing as a district on an annual basis that we are evaluating on a constant basis what we are, if we are improving our outcomes for all students and those specifically that are of the greatest needs. And I think that's kind of what, I'm hearing here. So that was really in the back of my mind even before we got to the meeting. And then I want to make sure that we are, we do have a plan to engage those students with the greatest needs so that we are specifically targeting them. And I do see that here. So that I think that's my.
Okay, thank you. And I want to thank everyone for all your hard work. I think this was a lot of fun again. We had to do our homework, but I feel that it helps us understand more, just reading it when you participate in it. On Hands Learner, right? So you understand it better. And I think that the way you did was really great. Either you looked at the board here or you looked at the paperwork, right, that we have here. And I think all my colleagues did a fantastic job on answering and giving the wonders and the finding. That was great, right? And I think we all did a great job in doing that. And I also appreciate Superintendent Ortega. He does go to our monthly city council meetings, and he does talk about all the great things that are going on here at the Azusa Unified School District. The testing or the whatever's going on. He lets everyone know monthly. He goes to the city council meetings, and I appreciate that he takes that time to do that. But I also want to thank the Gladstone High School Middle School staff for bringing forward the concerns that they have going on at Gladstone Middle School. I know that we have great things going on because we do have, I know we have security, I know we have Western Justice and all this, and maybe we're going to take a look and see if we need other venues or what we're doing. Is it working? Is it not working? I think we'd have to take a look at it all because I feel them. They work there. We don't work there, and I feel that they're on campus, and it's not fair that they have to. If I'm not going to work in an environment like that, I do not expect anyone else to do that. So we really have to take a second look at what we're doing, what we can do better, or what we need to do to make them feel, have them and the parents and the students feel comfortable. In our surveys, we look a whole lot better, I'm sure, if we work together as a team. So now I'm moving on to item 7, adjournment. We'll have a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Board Member Arellano. Still have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Greer. Any discussion?
Yes, I just want to make a comment to all the administration that's here, cabinet, and Hope. Thank you. I also had a great time learning and seeing what you guys have been working hard on. And I appreciate these, these study sessions because I get to see where the district is headed, what's coming. And I'm really excited for our students. So thank you all for your hard work.
And
Thank you. Yes.
and I appreciated looking at the goals one at a time this year, but this time around. But I suggest next time around we give Yolanda 2 at a time. That's my suggestion.
One. Oh, yeah. I might be absent. You're going to have 2. So our meeting has adjourned at 9:06. Thank you. I'm sorry. We can please place our vote? Yeah. Okay. But a hand vote, please. Board Member Griff, Board Member Benavides.
Yes.
Board Member Bo, and myself, yes. 5-0. Now our meeting has ended at 9:07.
Good night.
I'm going to turn it off ahead of time.